Yes, welcome back to the channel, people. We're back in the building, guys. Make sure, of course, you're smashing that like button, you're sharing, you're subscribing. Head on over to the GTV Insight shop as well. There's a few products on there that I think some of you will like. Link will be in the description. Now, obviously, we're here to take a look at the Champions League quarter final stage. Now, things are starting to get serious, man. Things are starting to get serious now. Hopefully, we're going to see some real good football this season. We've seen quite a bit, well, I'd say a little bit in the Champions League. We've seen a couple surprises and stuff like that. Obviously, now we're going to be taking a look at Sporting versus Arsenal. Now, obviously, you already know, you can see the thumbnail, you can see the title, Gyökeres returning back to Sporting, the club that kind of made him into this big name, across Europe, one of the most coveted strikers in the summer. Who was going to sign him? Obviously, Arsenal ended up signing him. So obviously, we're going to take a look at the game in terms of just predicted lineup, my thoughts for the game, how both teams might potentially set up, and my predictions in terms of the first leg result. And I'm not gonna go too far into the second leg. We'll take a look at that, when the time does come. Now, so obviously looking here, you guys can obviously see, this is obviously the predicted lineup on FOTMob themselves. Obviously, it might be a little bit different on different sites, kind of thing. You can see obviously Sporting setting up in a 4-2-3-1. We'll talk about them in a second, and obviously Arsenal, usual 4-3-3. Couple players obviously missing from that predicted Arsenal lineup, but we'll start off with Sporting actually first, right? Because I'm quite intrigued. Haven't seen a lot of them this season. Done a bit of research just to kind of see where they're at and what's kind of changed since obviously Ruben Amorim come in. Rui Borges is the current Sporting manager, and I think they had another manager just come in just after Ruben Amorim, and didn't really work out. Wasn't really working. Obviously, Ruben Amorim had it, that 3-4-3 kind of system. Gyökeres obviously spearheading that attack at the time, scoring loads of goals, doing quite well in the Champions League. He obviously left to go to Manchester United. Can't remember who the next manager was to come in, but when I was looking at this, right, and doing a little research just into the way that Sporting kind of play, maybe we can get some kind of idea as to maybe how they might set up. Obviously, Arsenal are a really, really, really tough team, one of the best teams in Europe this season, defensively sound as well. So it's going to be difficult for them. But they've obviously changed in the way that they kind of do things this season. As you can see, obviously, they're lining up in a 4-2-3-1. They still build from the back with a three at the back kind of thing, whether it be Fresneda, who pushes into the midfield or pushes further forward, whether it be Araujo on the left-hand side, who obviously could potentially, push in. One of them will obviously push forward, and then they drop back into this kind of back three. Sometimes the two fullbacks will obviously push forward, and then either Debast or Morita will drop into that defense to then form a back three. But they like to build up with that three at the back. So they've still obviously got that essence. They've still got that kind of Amorim in them. Obviously, it might still be difficult, of course. He had such success with that kind of style of play. Looking at, obviously, there's Luis Suarez. No, not the one who played for Barcelona and Liverpool previously, and is now, I think he's still into Miami at this current moment in time. It's a different one. He's been doing really, really good this season as a Gyökeres replacement, if you could call it that, scoring loads of goals, obviously, again, spearheading that attack. But I would say that they're a lot more fluent. Again, not watched them crazy. I think I watched one game of the season, so it's just been highlights and reports and things like that. So again, if there's any Sporting fans out there, I do apologize. But again, when I'm looking at these, or when I'm looking at Sporting Lisbon, I am looking at them and thinking they're a lot more fluid than before. It's not as, from the reports, it's not as rigid in terms of their system anymore. It's not like how it used to be with the 3-4-3. There was fluidity kind of within that, but as we know, Amorim was very stuck in his ways in terms of how they kind of did things. And now, listen, it brought them success. So are you going to complain? Not really. But I feel like in this kind of 4-2-3-1 system, it has allowed for just a bit more nuance, to their game, whether it be from a defensive standpoint or an attacking standpoint. It does allow for that. Now, whether they're going to be good enough to beat Arsenal, that remains to be seen. I do believe Bukayo Saka is potentially injured. If we scroll down here, see, Saka, Marino, and Capie, Timber. I mean, Saka and Timber, those are going to be two really, really big misses. I feel this is the predictor line that they've kind of gone with Calafiore, Gabriel Saliba, Ben White at the back with obviously Raya in goal, Rice, Subamendi, Odegaard, and then Martinelli, Gyökeres, and then Madueke. Obviously not their strongest team, as I mentioned. They have got a couple of players who you probably say would slot into, that team. I still think they should, be good enough to be able to defeat Sporting Lisbon, if I'm being totally honest with you. Obviously, as we know, Arsenal been in, it's not been great in recent weeks. There's been a lot now that the nerves are kicking in. The nerves are kicking in, I would say, from an Arsenal standpoint. Not it might not even be from the team. I'd just say more from the fans, which is understandable, man. Like, listen, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not they, go for the quad and all of these kind of different things. Obviously, never thought that was ever going to happen. But listen, you can dream, right? And I think Arsenal fans did dream of, getting, doing the quad. Unfortunately, obviously losing to Manchester City in the final where they were completely outplayed in that game, bar a few moments. And then against Southampton, getting knocked out in the FA Cup, again, very surprising. Very, very surprising. I felt that they should be going, well, not even felt that. I think everybody felt that they should be going through. But, if you're not going to do the job on the pitch, then unfortunately, you come up against a side who are also firing in their own league in the Championship in Southampton. And to a man, I felt like Southampton were just that little bit better. I didn't really feel like Arsenal really. It's almost like, I can't say they didn't take it serious. Obviously, they're professional players in that, but it just didn't really feel like they wanted it. It just didn't really feel like it didn't feel like a team like we're trying to win it all. Regardless of who's playing, regardless of yes, it was their second team and all these, all the changes, and I do understand that, but ultimately, it just didn't really feel like they wanted it. And listen, unfortunately, they've been knocked out. But when we're looking at Arsenal style of play, would I say there's fluidity? Not really. It is quite a. It's weird. It's like a mix. I feel like there's a little bit of fluidity within there, but that fluidity is almost being managed and structured. So it's like structured fluidity. I feel that Arsenal have just in the terms of their own style of play. I don't think it's as boring as everyone's obviously saying. It can be fluid at times and they can be resolute at times. And I think they can be very disciplined, but then they can have their moments within those games where, they're really playing teams off the park, cute football, possession based and all these kind of various different things. It's going to be interesting, I think, a game like this, especially away for that first leg. Second leg, obviously, I think they would go out there and do it anyway. But the first leg, I just think it's going to be interesting. Like I said, there's no Timber, there's no Saka. Saka obviously has been poor this season by his own standards. So Madueke, I actually feel Madueke has been better than Saka this season. I don't think Saka's really had an impact, to be honest, at all in regards to Arsenal and their season. Whereas I do feel Madueke might offer them something a little bit different. It's going to be a good battle potentially between a Madueke and Araujo. Again, Fresneda is someone who does like to bomb forward. He is a high-flying fullback. Martinelli, Calafiore. Calafiore is a very good player, to be fair. Declan Rice also on that side. I think he'll be able to potentially manage that anyway. But again, if you go to sleep, it could obviously, of course, cause, some problems there. And obviously, Gyökeres coming back to Sporting, what's that going to be like? And it's just going to be interesting. I think the relationship, if this is the team that they go with, I think it's just going to be interesting to see the relationship between that front three, Martinelli, Madueke, and Gyökeres. Are they going to be able to kind of combine well together? Obviously, they've tried with the, Gabriel Jesus. Obviously, Kai Havertz is obviously back there as well. Can they really gel together? I don't know. I think it's going to be one of those games where it's going to be quite tight, in my personal opinion. That's just how I feel it's going to go. I think Sporting are going to obviously have the onus because they're at home. They're going to want to try and get that victory for the first leg so they can take something back to the Emirates. So it's going to be tricky for Sporting, but yeah, I think it'll be one of those games where it'll be maybe not that great as a spectacle, but yeah, we'll kind of see. And obviously, as you can see here, I mean, last 3 games, should I say, Sporting have obviously won. Arsenal, last 2 games, they've obviously lost. So not coming into it in the greatest of form, if I'm being 100%. Just looking here, obviously a little insights, I guess. Sporting, let's make that bigger for you guys. So yeah, Sporting reached Champions League quarterfinals for the first time since '92 rebrand. Gyökeres scored 97 goals in 102 Sporting games before his summer move to Arsenal. Sporting beat PSG 2-1. And Bodo Glimt 5-0 in their last 2 Champions League home games. have never beaten Arsenal inside 90 minutes across 5 previous meetings. I think we saw them play each other in the Europa League. Remember Ugarte? Lost back-to-back matches, Arsenal, for the first time this season after cup exits to Manchester City. That's pretty good, to be fair. If we're in April now and this is the first time, that is pretty decent. Sporting have never beaten Arsenal. Gyökeres faces former club. Saka and Timber confirmed absent. Gabriel is doubtful with a knee injury. So, again, he might not even start it. So if he doesn't start, I think then you're looking at, I mean, got no Nkapie, no Timber. Fucking hell, all of a sudden now you're asking for centre-backs. Mosquera, that's it. That's the one. Mosquera would have to obviously slot in there. But, I mean, if he's not then available or they need a bench player, I mean, Calafiori can play centre-back. Declan Rice is going to be the next one you're looking at. Yeah, it could be interesting. Could be very interesting. I was kind of disappointed, obviously, Giovanni Quenda, I believe he signed for Chelsea. He's going to be moving to them in the summer. It looks obviously he's got a broken foot, so he's doubtful. Hoyman, I'm probably butchering that name, but again, I wanted to see him play, but he's suspended for this match. Obviously, I'm going to assume he's going to be available for the second leg, and Luis Guilherme as well. Those are 3 players actually I really wanted to see in their starting lineup, just to see how Arsenal do against a really strong Sporting side. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm gonna go with an Arsenal. I'm gonna go with Arsenal 2-1. I'm gonna go with Arsenal 2-1. That's kind of where my head is at for this type of game. But again, I mean, like I say, Arsenal coming off the back of 2 very disappointing results, both in cup competitions, don't make it a third, because then it starts to get a little bit tricky. Then, you know what I mean? Like, all the noise that's already surrounding Arsenal at this current moment in time starts to really, really ramp up. But I'm going to go Arsenal victory for this game. I think it will be tight. I mean, I'll be surprised if Arsenal completely just blow them out of the water. Obviously, they've rested players during that players pulled out due to injuries and stuff during the international break. Let me not be disrespectful, but yeah, players pulled out. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see in terms of how this game kind of goes. Will the pressure that's obviously been on Arsenal recently, is that going to ramp up in today's game? If Sporting go ahead very, very early, how do Arsenal respond? But listen, they've been good this season. You know, overall, they are the best team in the Premier League this season. And so I feel like they should be able to navigate a game like this. And it's these type of games that you're looking at to kind of see. I know it sounds weird, right? Because people always look at the big games and you think, oh, yeah, you know what? It's against the top teams where it's games like this, games where you're not really in good form. Do you know what I mean? You've had 2 kind of disappointing results. What does it look like next? When you come up against a team who are not just going to roll over. I mean, you played against Southampton, they didn't roll over. Regardless of what team you put out there, you didn't put out a bunch of kids. So it's not like you had a bunch of Max Dowmans on the pitch. You had one of those. Do you know what I mean? So to now see what it's going to be like in a European away game, you know, hostile crowd, it's going to be crazy atmosphere and things like that. I think it's going to be tricky for Arsenal, but I do envisage them getting a victory in this match. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section as to who you think will win this game. Will the pressure get to Arsenal? Will Gyökeres score against his old club? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in a bit.